Welcome to English 3, Quest 3, Paired Selections, Expository, and Poetry. We're going to go ahead and get started with analysis by first comparing and contrasting our expository article and our poem. The article that you just read in the previous square in blend space is 50 Ways to Fix Your Life, and the connected selection is Singles Cruise, which is the poem. Let's get started by looking at the first similarity. Both texts allude to self-help. So with the cruise, where the singles try to match themselves with a new mate, that's helping themselves. And then there are several types of self-help mentioned in the article, including weight loss and smoking. What about the second similarity? Both texts also mention failed attempts at self-help. Let's take a look at a few of the differences in the expository article, 50 Ways to Fix Your Life. The first difference is the book discusses use of books for self-help. The second difference is the article discusses characteristics of those who are successful at self-help attempts. Okay, so if we take a look at our third difference for the expository article, we'll see that it mentions goal setting, and that is not mentioned in the poem. And finally, the fourth difference is that the article recommends keeping track of progress. Let's take a look at our singles cruise differences. Okay, the first two differences are as follows. The poem discusses a specific issue, which is searching for a new mate, so helping yourself to find a new mate by taking a cruise. The second difference from the poem is that it discusses going beyond self for help or seeing an analyst, a therapist, and in the article, it pretty much stuck to helping yourself through progress monitoring and charting. Let's take a look at differences 3 and 4. A third difference is that the poem does not mention successes, only the failures of being unable to attach to someone new, and etc. Finally, we have a fourth difference, and it is that no goals are set, whereas in the article there were goals being set. Now we're going to take a look at making a complex inference using evidence to support our. Okay, if you'll notice on the left, there are 3 pieces of evidence that represent a conflict in the expository article 50 Ways to Fix Your Life. Below, you'll notice that there are L2 words or connecting words or ideas that relate to the evidence, and they correlate by number. So if you look at quit smoking, some of the connected ideas are willpower and habitual, because it's something that you do out of habit. I could put addiction if I wanted to. Additionally, we have start flossing. Words that come to mind: ideal, preventative. And when you look at dieting, some of the connected words are restraint and strong-willed. Let's take a look at the evidence of conflict from Singles Cruise. Okay, when we look on the right, we see that we have 3 pieces of evidence that represent conflict in our poem, Singles Cruise. Look at number 1. The recently widowed were attached to ghosts. When you look down at your L2s, some of the ideas or connections that you could make would be grief, loss, and alienation. Number 2, legally attached to a living person. So there is no longer an emotional bond or love, but a person is still not free. So associations that could be made would be bondage and the failure of a relationship. Finally, evidence number 3, a surprising number feared partners love them no longer. There's a sense of rejection and a bit of assumption that goes along with this fear of not really knowing. And so we have 3 pieces of evidence for each and 3 sets of L2s for each piece. Now we want to think about possible answers to our question. So now we're ready to look at possible answers to the question. First, we have a habit, smoking, versus emotional healing, or dealing with the grief that comes along with losing a person. Second, we have developing a good habit or instating a good habit versus ending ties to a person, illegal ties. Finally, we have exercising self-control versus insecurity. So what it really seems like the majority of the possibilities relate to is taking action versus something emotional. So I believe that that is what I'll use for the basis of my response. Take just a moment to review the response in the area on the screen.